education, politics,
economics, culture, weekly news, a roundup of national news of the week on Renouveau TV every Saturday.
Weekly news, the news to English speakers.
You're watching Renouveau TV. Time has come for our English weekly program. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on Weekly News. Once more, welcome on Renouveau TV. The President of the Republic, Supreme Head of the Armed Forces, Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta, visited this Friday, January 4th, the region of Mopti. This visit follows the tragic events that occurred in the village of Kulogo in the circle of Bankas on January 1st. Arrived in the village, the head of the state visited the rank-stake site and exchanged with local people and authorities who gave him all the details on the situation. Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta has in return reassured the families of the victim before instructing the Chief of Staff General of the Armed Forces to take all the measures to secure more the populations. Before leaving the locality, the head of the state visited the graves of the victim. Ibeka prayed for the rest in peace of the dead and for the speedy recovery of the wounded. For this trip, the President of the Republic was accompanied by a strong delegation composed of members of the government, parliamentarians, the high military hierarchy of Mali, and representatives of the civil society. Retrospective 2018, elections, politics, crisis, inauguration of infrastructure, launching of the works of certain building sites, demonstration of anger, strike of the union, the deadly attacks in the north and the center, back to the year 2018, which have been marked by many events. The year 2018 was marked by several events in Mali, including the elections of the Presidential of the Republic in July-August, the results of which were contested by the opposition through marches and meetings often repressed by the police. Another highlight of the year 2018 is the inauguration of some infrastructure, including the multi-form interchange of the region of Segu, the road of Kulikoko, and the launching of works of some ways of access to Sikasso. In terms of security, the implementation of the agreement continued in 2018 with some meetings of the monitoring committee of the agreement, but also the start of the demobilization, disarmament, and reintegration process, as well as the operationalization of the agreement in some regions. In addition to a few clashes between armed groups signature to the agreement, the year 2018 was also marked by terrorist attacks in the central and northern and targeted assassinations. Two emblematic figures have also died in 2018. They are Mamadou Jirimaiga, a former member of the SEMA, and the radical preacher Amadou Diallo, called Amadou Koufa, killed in a joint operation by the Malian and French armies. Other highlights of the year 2018 in the field of economy is the arrival of the first mobile operator in Mali, Telesea, and the holding of a 7th edition of the agricultural show in Mali. In the field of culture, 2018 was marked by some major events, including the Biennial Art and Culture, but also by the death of two of the most beautiful voices of Mali, Kassemadi Diabaté and Kara Arbi. As far as this sport is concerned, it has recorded 2 trophies at basketball level among cadets. Football remains in crisis with the setting out of Connor. Only positive point at this level is the qualification of the Eagles Senior in the final phase of the African Cup of Nations. 2018 was a complicated year for the media world, with more than 4 complaints against journalists and the closure of a radio by the authorities. Revocation of an opposition mayor, repression of opposition demonstrations, prorogation of member of parliament's mandates, departure of some figures from their parties are movements registered at the level of the political class. At the dawn of the year, the author of the national anthem of Mali, also author of the famous novel Sous l'orage, Under the Storm, Seydou Badian, passed away on the night of Friday, December 28th, at the age of 90. These facts are the tiny part of the events of 2018 that caught our attention. 2,600,000,000 CFA francs. This is the projected budget 2019 of the Town Hall of Kalabankoko. This amount was announced during the recitation of the 2017 administrative account of the sharing of the 2019 budget held this Saturday, December 29th, in the premises of the Town Hall. Details. This meeting was initially to take stock of the activities carried out by the Town Hall during the year 2017-2018 and then to announce the project plan for 2019. Despite significant advances, the Town Hall of Kalabankoro is still facing several difficulties. As for the President of the National Council of Civil Society and the Support Union for the Reform of Public Finances, he appreciated the assessment of 2018 of the rural municipality of Kalabankoro before inviting the communal authorities to continue this dynamic. The elaboration of the school textbook on homosexuality dedicated to basic education in our country has been abandoned. The measure was announced on Wednesday afternoon by the Minister of Religious Affairs and Worship, Cherno Amadou Omar Asjalo, during a meeting with all religious leaders, Muslim, Catholics, and Protestants. For the occasion, the Minister Jallo was accompanied by his colleagues of the National Education, Professor Abinu Teme, and that of Youth, Employment and Citizen Construction, spokesman of the government, Amadou Koita. Holding of an extraordinary General Assembly of the new office of the National Union of the State Administration occurs on Monday, December 31st at the Bourse de Travail to deny remorse of defection of some of its members. 13 sections out of 50 that make up the trade union were present at the meeting. Reports. The end of the crisis that has been prevailing for some time in the National Union of State Administration workers continues after the major release of the dissident party led by Kefin Kante last Tuesday during a debate on Renouveau TV and FM, announcing clearly to be with 13 sections of the union. The other branch led by Yakuba Katile decided to break silence to deny this information. Turn by turn, the Secretary General of the 13th section out of 15 reaffirmed their membership to the branch headed by Yakuba Katile. Thus, considering itself as a legal and legitimate office, this branch will observe the strike slogan of 72 hours of the UN term. Let's remind that it was during the ordinary Congress held last November that this office was set up. Politics. The president of the Saudi party presented his New Year wishes to the press on January 1st. During the ceremony held at the party headquarters, Dr. Umar Mariko informed the suspension of the activities of Saudi representative in the National Assembly until the next Congress of the party scheduled for the month of February. According to him, the mandate of the parliament members has legally ended on December 31st, 2018, and that the law extending their term violates the Constitution. Details. Voted by the National Assembly on November 22, 2018, the prorogation of the mandate of the elected representative of the nation continues to provoke debate. Faced with the press on Sunday for this new year, which is the Saudi party president Umar Mariko said the prorogation of the member of parliament's debate violates the constitution before announcing the suspension of Saudi members of parliament activities in the National Assembly. During the meeting, the president Umar Mariko made the recitation to some highlights of the year 2018, which he said was marked by acts detrimental to the principles of democracy. To stop this act, he called on the vital forces of the nation to remain mobilized for the consolidation of democratic gains. After the prorogation of the Member of Parliament's term in 2012, Saudi representatives left the parliament on the request of the party's Central Committee. For this year also, it's up to the coming Congress scheduled for February to decide whether the five-party Member of Parliament should remain in the National Assembly or not. Fight against blindness. The First Lady Keita Aminata Maiga officially launched this Wednesday, January 2nd, a free ophthalmic camp to fight against ophthalmological problems. During a week, 10,000 consultations and 1,000 surgical operations will be performed. For this first day of the operation, people coming from all over the country met together at the Elizari Consultation Center located in Jikoroni Para report. Initiated by the First Lady Keita Aminata Maiga and her partners in Saudi Arabia, the International Islamic Relief Organization, the International Al-Basar Foundation, the Corporation of Drug Aid, the Muslim Agency of Africa, they came for consultations and free operation for people with blindness or other ophthalmological diseases that spans a week will relieve many patients waiting in front of Medical Center El Zari. This humanitarian gesture by the president of the NGO Agir provides for 10,000 free consultations, 1,000 ocular surgical operations with free corrective lenses to 2,000 people.
A project of direct aid, El Basar International project, to help or to try to help people in Africa about the house. About 2 or 10 days, today is the beginning. We will try to see the house today, tomorrow and after tomorrow, and after tomorrow we will start the operation. For today is only to visit patients. But me, I feel that is a very good things, because you know that in Africa we are poor. To find somebody who can help us or like that, to try and to operate a poor person, I think that is very good. Only God can pay them, only God, because we will see somebody they are nothing very wait for this moment, and they come from everywhere in the Mali to come. In the north, in the south, in the airport, everywhere they come and they try to operate themselves. And I think that every year it is the same, and everybody say it is a seaside. If they operate your eyes, it is okay, no problem again. And I feel that it is a good thing.
The president of the NGO Agir godmother of the event, before proceeding with the official launch of the camp, thanked all the partners of Mali who through this event will restore health and hope by giving light to our many fellow citizens who are in need. The First Lady received during the launching ceremony a certificate of recognition from the International Islamic Relief Organization. The ceremony mobilized around the First Lady, among others, the Minister for the Promotion of the Child, Woman and Family, representing her colleague of Health in Public Hygiene, the Ambassador of Saudi Arabia in Mali, the representative of the Coordination of District Chiefs of Bamako District. Bad news. Seydou Badian Kouyaté, author of the famous novel Sous l'orage, Under the Storm, passed away last Friday evening at 11 p.m. Born in Bamako in 1928, Seydou Badian was a Malian writer and politician. He is the father of the Malian national anthem, Mali. Under the chairmanship of the first president, Modibo Keïta, he was appointed Minister of Economic and Financial Coordination. In short, he had an exceptional career. Rest in peace, dear. This is the main news of the weekend. Now we're going to deal with the second part of the program, which is the guest of the week. Born in Bamako on April 10, 1928, an early activist of the U.S. area, Seydou Badian is also an internationally renowned writer. He published in 1927, 3 years before the independence of Mali, his first novel entitled Sous l'orage, Under the Storm. So this evening I have with me 4 guests. The first one is Mr. Hamidou Touré. Mr. Touré is a teacher of English. Mr. Touré, good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome on Renouveau TV.
Thank you.
The second one is Mr. Ousmane Natoume. Mr. Natoume is a translator. Welcome.
Thank you.
And the third one is Mr. Mahamadou Koita. Mr. Koita is a member of Mali English Club Council. Mr. Koita, welcome.
Thank you.
The third and last one is Mr. Dumia. Mr. Dumia is one of the socialists, also in literature, we can say. Welcome, Mr. Dumia.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be featured in this program.
Thanks all of you. Welcome once more on Renouveau TV. Let's start with Mr. Hamidou Touré. Mr. Touré, can we know how you did know this great personality, Seydou Badian?
Okay. Thank you for giving me the floor and this opportunity to speak about a great personality in the history of this country. And first of all, I would like to present our condolences to the family and also recognize the value of this man, in the history of our country. Talking about Seydou Badian, I think, in the Malian educational system, I would even go beyond saying that in the African educational system, he's part of the program in education. So everybody knows about his works, and the most famous, I would quote, is the Sous l'orage, which was really well known. And I think this is in this framework that I knew about, Seydou Badian. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Dumia.
Thank you. As you did mention, Seydou Badian Kouyaté, peace and blessing be upon him, is known for the fact that he wrote the lyrics of the Malian anthem. So this is something incredible, and I think every Malian identifies themselves with that national anthem. In addition to the various books he wrote, as my colleague mentioned, you have the one which is known to all of us, Sous l'orage and the Restaurant. So.
Okay, Mr. Koita.
Okay, well, talking about Seydou Badian, we really became sad when we hear about his death. And secondly, we know him is really a great patriot, that all Malians know him by his courage and determination and the love of the country, with all of his hair. So we are really sad about, his death.
So, yes, Mr. Natime, do you have something to how did you know it? Him.
Yeah, thank you. And first of all, I wish may God grace upon him. And I can say Seydou Badian, as my colleague mentions, I know him through the novels that he wrote, his literature works, and I, as me and as everybody knows him through the political life too. As you said, he was one of the pioneers of our independence of the country. And I used myself to go to pay him a visit with my association members and with my students when I was a teacher. And he used to give me more advice, about citizenship, about education in the past and education of today, and how our country has been divided. He was full with patriotism and citizenship, that he used to share to everybody.
Mr. Dumia, as Mr. Natime said, beyond literature, he is also well known in politics in Mali.
Badian's political career started when most of us knew very little about Mali. However, we know he is one of the champions of Mali's pre-independence and post-independent activities. When he returned to Mali in 1966, Mali got independent in 1960. He was appointed twice as a minister in both cabinet until such a time when a coup toppled the regime in 1968. In addition to that, I think he played a pivotal role in the first ruling party that was in Africa, that is Sudanese Union, African Democratic Rally. So I think this is what Seydou Badian has been known for until recently, and I think many people, even those who are fighting under this party today, are using him as an inspiration, as an example. So I think that's what I can say about his political career.
Mr. Touré?
Yeah, I think what my colleague has mentioned is really true, and then we can mention as his participation to the presidential elections, in the past, to construct a Mali in his image, and as my colleagues mentioned, he was full of patriotism and love for this country, wanted to build a Mali in a special image, especially in the context of the Pan-African idea. You can say that he's a great, Pan-African, writer.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Yes, Mr. Koita?
Okay, well, as concerned with his political careers, as my colleague mentioned, of course, he was a former minister, under the regime of Modibo Keïta. And after the military coup also, he was always involved in development and also the union of the country. He was even the ambassador of between politicians. He always called them and discuss. So in order to join together, in order to develop the country instead of being divided. Because before his death is what he said exactly. Once we are divided, we cannot defeat our enemies. So it's what exactly he put stress on it. And I know all Malians are aware of this. They will put those ideas and legacies in practice. So after even his death.
Yes, Mr. Natume.
Okay, me, about political life, I'd say Seydou was an icon for the Malian politicians, an icon for the African Pan-Africanism. Because, many people knows him about the writer of the national anthem. But I used to go to Seydou. He told me that he was the writer of a song that everybody used to sing it when we were at school. I think if I try to sing now, everybody can remember it. I see?
Yeah, go on.
C'est le jour de l'Afrique, c'est l'heure de l'Afrique, oh jeunesse. He was the writer of this.
Okay.
But everybody, I don't know if many people know it.
Okay.
It was a song to dedicate to the late Mamadou Konate. Because Modibo Keïta would like to feel in the song Mamadou Konate, who passed away, during that period. He would like to feel it. So he called Seydou Badian Kouyate to write something about Mamadou Konate, so as all of the youth can feel Mamadou Konate and keep it in his mind. Yeah.
Okay, so Mr. Touré, as you know, Seydou Badian was one of the most faithful collaborators of President Modibo Keïta, and he said that democracy has destroyed Mali. How do you understand this assertion?
All right, so I think, that was just a way to point out the way things has changed, and to point out the aspect that, it is not changing, according to his vision, and that's the thing. And it's normal, because when we tackle the term, the system, I mean, the path followed by him, he's from a generation, my colleagues mentioned it, the pre and post-colonial period. And now, the world has changed, with the advancement of technology and in science. Mm-hmm. We people, younger generation, we don't have the same perception of things. And coming from the older generation, it's obvious that there is a kind of a generation gap. And this is what is explained in his Sous l'Orage, and where there was a generation gap, in terms of, arranged marriage, and then the transformation of women as an object in our tradition. And he was criticizing those practices. Though in our culture we have positive practices, to his mind, there is something to be changed. And that happened because he was, he attended the Western school where he got this, change, this vision. And that was a kind of gap between his generation and the pre-colonial vision.
Yeah.
And this gap is also the same thing which happened to his generation in ours. Mm-hmm. There is a change. He was pointing out the change, in that time, and now there is another change which is ours. Mm-hmm. He could not understand, and the gap, was visible,
Okay.
That's why, yeah, thank you.
Mr. Dumbia, democracy has destroyed Mali, Seydou Badian.
Well, this is a very critical question. Let's not say democracy has totally destroyed Mali. I think you have to analyze from many angles. There are advantages and disadvantages to democracy. But if we take it from the angle, Seydou Badian is saying, well, there's been a lot done to our traditional governance system. I think that's probably why he's thinking democracy has destroyed, Mali. But I do not think democracy has totally destroyed Mali. There are so many gains in democracy. The fact that we are discussing here is a gain of democracy because there is freedom of speech. So I am not one of those who think that democracy has totally destroyed Mali. We got to be able to draw positive aspect from democracy. We have to be able to analyze the negative aspect and then see what we can do with those. But yeah.
Do you have something to add, one of you? Yeah.
Okay. What I can add is just we analyzing and with our own reason, and we justify them and give reason to everything. Because if we see the current situation of Mali now, of course, I join my grandfather, Seydou Badian. He is right, because Mali has been divided. There are a lot of problems because he left in socialism regime with Modibo Keïta after this dictatorial and arrival of democracy. He saw everything. So he has really right why he said this, and I can say really, of course, with democracy now. Everything is destroyed now in Mali.
Okay, Mr. Natume.
Okay, about this, during my last visit to him, I asked him the same questions, why democracy destroyed our Mali. He said, now Mali, the Malians, he told me, you sold your dignity because of money. Yeah. You sold your custom because of money. You sold your tradition because of money. You betray your brothers and sisters and fellowship because of money. So, you destroy this country because of democracy. Because democracy period, it is you, your young people, it is your time. It is not our time. It is not our period. Our period, we respect education. We respected the democracy. We respected the citizenship. We respected the patriotism. Now, democracy is your time. You destroy this country, not us.
Okay, yes, Mr. Touré.
Thank you. So we all respect his vision and way of things, but if we put it into a debate, I would say that yes, we lost our dignity and others, as he said, but democracy doesn't ask us to destroy our dignity. This is the question. Yeah. Yes, we did it, but democracy didn't come and say, well, abandon your dignity.
It's not the principle.
Yeah, right, thank you. This is what we have to separate from democracy. We're blaming it, but in some part, I think, as he said, because of democracy, we are sitting down today, freedom of speech. And that's very important,
So you mean that democracy principles are not as respected? The principles of democracy is not respected.
Okay, this is another debate. I don't want to go far in that debate like that, to blame each other in that way. But I want to clarify, saying that democracy is not teaching us to, abandon our dignity and doing bad things. That's what I want to make people understand.
Right. Now, beside Mr. Ousmane Natume, did you used to meet him during his lifetime, one of you?
That's a very good story. In February 2016, I sat alone and thought about Seydou Badian Kouyaté, who is the author of the lyrics of Malian anthem. He was the only living witness of Mali's independence period. So I told that Malians are missing a great opportunity. In our educational systems, children are taught the person who wrote the lyrics. In Bamako here, Seydou is living here, but very few schools would go to Seydou to meet him. So I told my kids, I pledge that I'll make sure you see the living author of Malian anthem. So on February 2016, I and my kids visited Seydou in his house. This was a great pleasure. And let me tell you the advice he gave to my children when we were leaving him. He told us, children, love your parents, have love for your country, have love for your parents, work harder. And to supplement what he said, when we were making arrangements to come and see him, I asked the intermediary, what should we bring to Seydou? Because in our culture, when you are visiting somebody, at least you bring something. He said, look, Seydou is this type of person who would never take money, but he likes cakes, he likes chocolate. So my kids bought chocolate and cake, which we offered to him. So I was lucky and opportune to meet Seydou while he was alive, and I think it's a big loss for the Malian educational system not to have taken the opportunity to see Seydou, to take kids to take Seydou while he was alive. It's unfortunate.
Seydou is a big loss for Malian people.
Of course, yeah. Really, it's a big loss, of course, for Malian people now, because we can just have his legacy is what he did and what he wrote and what he said, as Mr. Doumbia just underlined, who always encourage young generation to be courageous, to love their country. Is exactly what all good patriots encourage people to do it. And of course, we young people, we are obliged, it's compulsory for us to follow the path of Seydou Badian in order to develop our country and to get out of this problem, especially when we are talking about a political problem, because everything get complicated because of money. Everybody want to get is part of cake, So this cannot really work. If we want to develop the country, we must really love the country and love our parents and work dignitily.
Mr. Nachmian, what did you inspire from Seydou once you visited?
The first things he told me, one day he asked me, do you know where is the best university in the world? I said, I don't know. He said, okay, the best university in the world is the library. You find it in the library. So he encouraged us every time to read. He said, if you read, you get three things. The first, you get knowledge. The second, you get health. Because if you are reading, you can find yourself in a new world, in a new field, with the happiness. With the happiness in the heart, you have health. And the last thing is the long life. So I say on the stage to send everybody his message to read. It is that inspired me very well. And he used to tell me, write something, come and see me, I correct it for you.
Good. Okay, so Mr. Touré Seydou Badian was a scientist, but he said he has 24,000 books in his library, and he wrote many books. How to understand that? A scientist become a writer? I don't know now how to qualify this.
Yeah, I think this is a curious, fact, I would say, because beside this, what you're pointing out, I personally have seen something also which is a little bit curious as well, that the fact that, being a veterinary, he did not get well known in that field. On the contrary, it was in literature and in the field of citizenship, and those two domains have covered his profession. And personally, I don't have any explanation to this, because I'm also, curious to know why. Unfortunately, we have lost him. Peace upon him.
Mr. Doumbia, the same question to you.
To me, it's not surprising that he became a writer, despite the fact that he was a medical doctor by training. If you look at the educational system of those times, it's not surprising that he becomes a good writer. However, it is true that his writing career has taken precedent on his professional. But that also, I think, we should take it in a positive way. We have learned so much from his writings, And not only we, because I heard somebody saying that Seydou is not just for Mali. Seydou belongs to the entire African continent. It belongs to humanity as a whole. So whether he has been a famous doctor or not, this is not a problem. But he's been a good writer. He's been an inspiration for past generations, for current generations, and I think he will be a generation for even for future generations. Seydou will never die to me.
Seydou will never die. Let's come back to you, Mr. Touré. In 2009, Seydou Badian Kouyaté changed Kouyaté by Numboina. So Seydou Badian Numboina, how can you explain that? Or are you informed about that?
Yeah, I'm informed about that, and I think the fact did not surprise me because in our culture, this change of family names occurred in the past, and it didn't surprise me. And when we listened to his explanation, he said that, you know, it was due to his father who discovered an imam, you know, practicing, you know, how do you say, fetishism, I would say, you know, which is the animism, while he's in Islam, which is totally opposed. And the imam wanted to kill him, and the father left, you know, the village, and in order to cover himself, he was obliged to change his name so as he could stay hidden. And later on, the father, before he died, said, you know, recognized the truth by saying that this is the why we are Kouyaté, but truly speaking, we are Traoré Numboina. And now he said that one day, you know, in our culture, you know, we like sometimes, you know, to go through your history, look at who you are, and sometimes, if necessary, we can even tell you who you are. And they say one day they will tell you that you are not Kouyaté, you are Traoré, and then you have to recognize that. But what I feel like is to stay Kouyaté. You know, when I died, you can do whatever you want, but I would like to stay Kouyaté. And obviously, as you know, his father predicted, you know, that happened because one of his grandsons came one day and asked him that, Grandpa, I've been told that we are not Kouyaté. And now, from that, you know, say he told the truth and say you are free to change if you want. And his grandson and descendant decided to change, and he opted for that. And I think, you know, that's normal. You know,
so it's a long history.
Yeah, it's a long history, you know. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Doumbia, if you are asked now to tell about Seydou Badian, who is no more today, what will you say? If he were alive, what will you say to him today?
Well, that's a difficult question. First of all, I refuse to admit that Seydou is dead. If you look at his legacy, we will never completely explore this legacy. Seydou will continue to inspire us. I want to add that, to quote another famous Malian scholar, Amadou Ampateba, allow me to quote him in French. Tout vieillard qui meurt en Afrique est une bibliothèque qui s'éteint. I refuse to believe this is the case of Seydou Badian Kouyaté, because he has written a lot, he has spoken a lot, and luckily for us, this is the digital area. We have so many things that are available on digital, you know, files. So Seydou will be, you know, with us forever, unless we close our eyes, unless we refuse to admit the truth. And I think we have to admit the truth. We have to know that Seydou has been a guidance for Mali. He's been a guidance for Mali. If we don't want to go astray, let's follow some of the paths that Seydou has opened out for us. So what I can say is simply hope that he will rest in everlasting peace, but remain with us in our heart, in our mind.
Amen. So, Mr. Koita, what's the most important legacy Seydou Badian left?
Okay, the most important legacy is concerned with it is that he shows us that only union makes strength. If we are divided, we can never and ever defeat our enemies. So it's what I really love from him, and what everybody should implement it. And especially, I focus on politician. Why? Because there are eyes on everything of Mali now. If they are not united, so it's very hard to find a solution in the crisis of in the north, in the central, and find solution in our education to grow up our economy. So all depend on them. If politicians are not united, so it's very difficult. Especially before his death, peace upon him, Seydou Badjan, is what he said. So he called the opposition and majority. So do all your best and be united in order to develop this country, because we really love this country. It's not only for you. You will live one day, but think about a coming generation. So it's what really I love from him, and we encourage others to follow those paths too.
Mr. Natime, united we win, divided we fail, the words of Seydou Badjan.
Okay, this means he would like to talk about the union. He would like to talk about the oneness. As Seydou Badjan Kouyaté was a Pan-Africanist, I said, because when you see, you read his novel, the African leaders facing to the peoples, you will understand well that he would like not the union of Mali, but the union of all Africa. He dreams of the United Nation of Africa, like Kwame Nkrumah, like Nelson Mandela, like many people. He was tied to the Pan-Africanism. I don't know if you understand what I mean. So in Sulora, he says, the stay of a tree trunk, or a tree trunk in the water never transform into a crocodile. This means that he like Africa being in the hands of Africans.
Okay. So before giving you the floor for the last word, do you have something to add as far as this great personality is concerned? Yes, go on.
Yeah, I think I wanted to just mention the fact that Seydou Badjan was not only for Mali. He was a great personality for Congo.
Yes, Congo.
Right, and Senegal. And that's the reason why during the tributes, we could see a delegation from Congo led by the First Lady, and a delegation from Senegal, led by the Ministry of Culture as well, and other personalities, by it international and national. So I think, it was not for Mali. It was for many countries in Africa, or I would say for Africa. And that's very important, to be mentioned as legacy. And we have to keep in mind that Africa is one. And we have to operate in this frame, saying that, for example, one day I'm ready to serve for Senegal, I'm ready to serve for Guinea or Nigeria, etc., and so on and so forth. So this is a kind of a legacy which should be followed, and I wanted to point out this aspect.
Okay, yes, Mr. Dubier.
Thank you. Talking about Seydou's legacy, I can't but talk about the national anthem. I think this is the only thing that all Malians have in common. Whether you are from the ruling party, whether you are from the opposition party, whether you are a civilian president or a military president, the national anthem is always there. Although I am saddened with the controversy over who wrote or who did not write, but to me that controversy does not matter. It does not matter who wrote. I think Seydou has been honest enough to say that the anthem was written by a team, but he played a pivotal role. So to me, the legacy that no one can dispute is the national anthem that Seydou is living with us. No one is going to change that. Okay. Whether you are a military, a civilian, no president is ever going to change that. So this is the legacy.
As it's already time, can you add to it your last word?
My last word is, I think I should pay a tribute to Renouveau TV for organizing this debate. Because if not because of Renouveau TV, we would not have this conversation. So I say thank you to Renouveau TV for this initiative, and I think it contributes to informing people more on Seydou's life. And I look forward to many more opportunities like this to know more about Seydou or to teach Seydou to the coming generations. Thank you for your
Thanks for coming, Mr. Koita.
Okay, really, I admire very well when Mr. Doumbia in that line the issue of our national anthem. To quickly, what I can say is that I love, of course, all work that he did. But when we take the motto of Mali today, one goal, one people, one faith, I can say we lost this meaning. And secondly, when we say that if the enemy should show himself inside or outside of Mali, but it's really a pity for me as a very young man, because we are not able to arrange to solve the problem inside of Mali. But how we can die for Mali and for Africa? So I can say it's really very complicated. And then a great personality who fought too deep in order to make us brave and show us that loving your country is very important. Yeah.
Your last word, Mr. Natme?
My last word is, Seydou, I'm sad. I'm sad because there were two promises between him and I. The first is I was working with a filmmaker. We would like to transform Soulorage into films. And Seydou, he was on the way to help us. And today, all of the project is in the water. And the last thing is I'm writing poems in French. At any time I write, he said to give him, he will correct, so as we can transform into a book, a little book. Sorry.
Very sorry, Mr. Touré.
Okay, I would just say as last word that Seydou has been a man of Africa, and through this we could say that he is now a global personality. Because now we know that, globalization is taking place, and his idea coming to be at the disposal of every country, in the world, is a very good image, to make, globalization a successful practice. And I just want to also say that, thank you, Renouveau TV, for giving us this opportunity to talk about Seydou as a great man in our country. And we hope that, this TV show will continue and will be given other opportunities to present, good information to the Malian citizens and throughout the world. Thank you for it.
Okay, thanks as it's time. So we were with Mr. Hamidou Touré. Mr. Touré is the teacher of English, and the second guest is Mr. Moussa Doumbia. Mr. Doumbia is a communication specialist. The third one is Mr. Mohamed Koita. Mr. Koita is a member of Mali English Club Council, and the last one is Mr. Ousmane Natme. Mr. Natme is a translator. I'm very happy to be with you here today, and I hope you will be with us in the coming days. So fans of Renouveau TV, here takes an end this weekly news. Thanks for watching. Until then, see you next time.
Weekly news.
Education, politics,
Economics, culture. Weekly news, a roundup of national news of the week on Renouveau TV every Saturday.
weekly news, the news to English speakers.